Sup, guys? It's Toad back with you. Monday, May 5th. Not off to a great start in May. Yesterday, of course, that swap that I did, as I called it on my show, swapped Arizona out. And, of course, they have a big lead through 5 innings. So I actually handicapped the starting pitching matchup right in that game. Then they win in extra innings. So that was great. And meanwhile, Toronto, Bowden Francis can't get it together. They wound up losing the game by 1 run. So that swap out gave me a 1-3 day when it should have been a 2-2 day. Should not make any late changes. Should just leave it alone. Stop second guessing myself. And the market read actually changed before both of those games went off to agree with me, even though I think some of it for like Arizona, like the line went way up on who are they playing? Philadelphia. I think the line went way up on Philadelphia. And then I think some more money came in on Arizona, but still, got to just stick with my handicaps, man. The one that I won was the over in the Tampa Yankees game. That went over. And then the under in, what was the other game? Detroit, Anaheim. That one basically had no chance. And it was entirely because Detroit scored 13 runs. Actually, I mean, it had a chance. I mean, it was frustrating. Detroit was winning the game 5-0 into the 6th inning. So, of course, it has a chance to go under 9 at that point. If you had told me Anaheim was going to score 1 run in the entire game, I'd be like, hell yeah, we're going with this under 9. But Anaheim's bullpen is horrendous. It wouldn't have even gone under in the first 5, by the way. It was 5-0 at that point. So that would have gone over as well. Really stupid. And then Washington, Cincinnati. Even though Mackenzie Gore was pretty wild, he walked 4 guys in the game. Cincinnati couldn't score for whatever reason. Game still wound up going well under the total there. So did not have a good day. Going to try to turn it around here and have a better day. I mean, I've been good in the playoffs, and I do have 1 playoff game in hockey. I'm not going back to NBA yet. I'm 10-4 in NBA, I believe, and what am I in hockey? 9-2, I think, something like that. I haven't played a hockey game for a while. But it's gone decently for me, so we're going to try to take a stab at it here. We will talk about NBA first. Congratulations to the Golden State Warriors, which I called that, by the way. And I'm kind of mad about it that I didn't play the Warriors in that game. I just thought it was the zig-zag spot. I just thought after a game where Houston had shot 46 free throw attempts, I thought there was some regression that was going to happen. The experience went out. I think the NBA kind of wants Steph Curry to keep going a little bit, although a little bit of a preview. I think Minnesota is going to beat the Warriors. I think Minnesota is the better team. So we'll see what happens with that. Minnesota, I know, is favored in game 1 in that series by about 6 points. Actually, yeah, you can see it here. It's up to 6 points. But let's talk about tonight's games. First game up, Knicks Celtics. I will hopefully be at the game, and you might be able to find me if I'm there. I will be behind one of the baskets. I don't know which basket it is, but that's where I'm going to be. But I'm so short, you might still not see me. So I think I'm in like the first row, like not the floor seats, but the first actual row behind that, which I've been in those seats before, and it's actually kind of difficult to see as a short man. So we'll see how that goes, but I'll be in the thick of it there. Celtics are up from 8-9 here with juice. 69% of tickets, 77% of the cash coming in on the Celtics. Sometimes I do like to look for teams like the Knicks who actually played a little bit more of an extended series because they have less time off, whereas the Celtics had time off. So you got to like shake that rust, especially Celtics are a team, even though they play slow. Both of these teams play slow, which we'll talk about the total in a minute. Celtics, I mean, they spread the ball around. They're a big time, like share the ball passing team like the Celtics of old, basically, which is what you have to do, unselfish basketball. And they rely on 3-pointers, good shots. You know, we know the deal. So might take a little while for the offensive rhythm to kick in for the Celtics. But I do think there is a positive in the fact they had extra time off, which is that they get to rest because they needed it as they had some banged up players there. So I believe all their guys are going to play, even though I think Brown is still kind of playing through a knee thing. Holiday missed a couple games in the last series. I believe he is going to be back for this one. As far as the total is concerned, it's up from 211 to 212.5. 52% of tickets on the over, 55% of the cash on the over, which I think the money's coming in on the over because the total posted on the Celtics-Knicks games in all 4 regular season games was in the 220s and 230s even, which is kind of insane to think about because both these teams actually play slow. But the way the games played out, they did not play out that way. during the regular season. So very weird. And the total has dropped way, way down because it is a playoff game. So it's expected that there will be more defense and more slow pace. But I think it is an overcorrection. No pun intended. So I think the cash on the over may be correct. I mean, with every one of I think every one of the regular season games went over this number. So, I mean, I don't know. It's a little bit of a weird number that seems, again, overcorrected downward. The spread, the money is coming in on the Celtics side, and it kind of makes sense. I mean, I don't know that the rust is really going to have an effect for that long. Like, usually you shed the rust off after a little while, so if you want to play on that rust factor, you'd be looking to take the Knicks early in the game, like first quarter, something like that. I think the Celtics probably wind up getting it done in the end. Obviously, they should win as a big favorite like this. Will they cover? Not entirely sure, but the Celtics have owned the series against the Knicks. They were 4-0 against the Knicks during the regular season. I think only one game did they not cover, which was a road game that went into overtime, last game of the season at the Knicks, where I think the Celtics almost basically had the 2 seed wrapped up at that point. And that was I believe the Celtics are a 2.5-point favorite and won the game by 2, so they missed the spread even in that one by a half point. I think they might have covered all the other ones. So the Knicks haven't done well against the Celtics. Really, it's kind of been the Brunson show for the Knicks, as the Celtics have kind of done well holding the rest of their players down. We'll see, because they haven't had a whole lot of experience facing KHE there, who's new to the Knicks this year. But Celtics, I believe, have won 8 of the last 9 games against the Knicks and covered, I believe, 6 of those, something like that. And one of them might have been a push. So would not be looking to fade the Celtics here, really. Nuggets Thunder, second game up. We got a higher total from 221.5 to 225, as the Nuggets really aren't a good defensive team, man. They're actually the worst defensive team in the playoff field, and the Thunder like to play fast, so the higher total does make sense, although 64% of tickets coming in on the over and only 58% of the cash. I'm not going to come in and try to play an over in a game one like this, especially when the Thunder offense, when they play with speed like this, they might be a little bit rusty early on too. So I think actually maybe the best way to play this game, because the Thunder were off for an extended period of time, more so than the Celtics, is the Thunder coming off a sweep, I believe, right? I think they swept the Memphis Grizzlies, right? The Grizzlies had a huge lead and looked like they were going to win one of those games at Memphis and still didn't win. Thunder wound up with a sweep while the Nuggets had to go to a game 7. So I think in a way, the perception is going to be, oh, well, the Nuggets are going to be really tired. And yeah, I think there is some truth to that, but the Thunder might come out with a little bit of rust. So I would actually look to play the Nuggets in the first quarter. Maybe you can get plus 3.5 on them in the first quarter, or plus 5.5, I think, is the first half line. I wouldn't mind playing the game that way. And it might actually be the best way to play this game, because I do think the Thunder win in the end. They are the way better team. They're up from 9 to 9.5 with juice. 55% of tickets, 65% of the cash coming in on the Thunder. So the movement on the line is on the Thunder side there. The cash percentage also is. I mean, I could see the Nuggets hanging in this game, though. I mean, it wouldn't totally surprise me, as the Nuggets do have that pedigree. They do have experience. They have players that have won a championship before, so they do know what it takes, even though they are riding with an interim coach here, but they won that game 7 in blowout fashion against the Clippers. So maybe we got to give the Nuggets a little bit more credit here, even though now they're not going to have that advantage of being in elevation for this one, as they have to go to Oklahoma City, although the travel from Colorado to Oklahoma City is not really that huge either. Thunder, of course, have a little bit of experience, even though they're still a young team. They made it to the second round, this same round last year, and obviously are looking to improve on that this year. And they are, at least based on the odds makers and analytics, they are the best team in the NBA this year, with the Celtics the second best, as I showed you when I did the playoff brackets. So we will see. My playoff brackets are getting a little bit busted up, by the way. Congratulations to the Winnipeg Jets, by the way, as we're going to transition to hockey here. Ridiculous game. They were down 3-1, I think, in the final minute and a half of that game. Scored, and then scored again, and with, I think, 1.5 seconds left, they tied it, sent it into overtime. It went to double OT, and it wound up being like the 4th longest Game 7 in NHL history, and they wound up winning in front of their home crowd in double overtime. I had it on. It was really, really crazy. It was way more entertaining than that blowout Warriors win. So hockey was the way to go last night as far as TV watching. And then you didn't have to look at those horrendous Houston Rockets uniforms either, which I think that's probably why they lost, to be honest. Those H-Town alternate uniforms, just horrendous. I don't know what they were doing with those uniforms. Anyway, yeah, and I was just going to mention, obviously, the Celtics do have more experience than the Knicks here, as they won the championship last year. They got the pedigree there. The Knicks did, of course, make it to the second round last year in the playoffs, and really they only lost because they were dealing with a ton of injuries, so they are a healthier team now. We will see. But hopefully I'll be able to be at that game tonight. I mean, I do have a ticket, so I don't want to waste a ticket. I should be there and behind one of the baskets, like I said, so you might be able to see me, especially during the free throw attempts, if they show that angle of the crowd behind the basket. Let's go to NHL. We do have one game, and I do have a play on this. I'm going to play on the Florida Panthers, man. Basically, just do what's worked, pretty much. As I took Florida twice in the first series, won on both of those games, and I'm going to do it again right here. I think it's telling that they're a road favorite here, man. As the odds makers are telling you, Florida is this much better than Toronto. They're up for minus 115 and minus 120. 58% of tickets, 71% of the cash coming in on Florida. I agree with it. The money coming in on Florida. Both of these teams have had a lot of time off, so the under does kind of make sense, too, if you think they're just going to be kind of slow moving, like a little bit rusty to start. 76% tickets on the over and 56% cash on the under. Total has flipped from 5.5 juice to the over to 5.5 juice to the under. Don't really disagree with that move either. Florida also plays defense. Toronto is the more offensive team. Florida's the much more balanced team, and they have the way better goalie, and of course they have the experience and pedigree as they've made the Stanley Cup Finals 2 years in a row, winning it last year. And they pretty much have their health now. As Kachuk came back. Not that I like the guy at all, but he came back and seemed to definitely ignite the team a little bit. Much more impressive series for Florida, beating Tampa Bay, obviously, than Toronto beating Ottawa. Although you might say, well, that means that the public likes Florida, right? Well, not really. They don't like them that much. 58% of tickets and 71% of cash coming in Florida. I mean, the public kind of likes Toronto with Austin Matthews there. One of the best offensive players in hockey. There's no doubt about that. Their offense, pretty dangerous. But Florida, again, I like the defense. I like the balance. I like the goaltending. That's better on the Florida side with Bobrovsky. Toronto, they got, who are their goalies? Wall and Stolars or whatever. Definitely not as good as Bobrovsky. So we're looking for Florida in this one to continue what they've been doing. Odds makers are telling you something here, lining them as a favorite despite being on the road. Both teams have had a lot of time off, so having to travel up to Toronto for Florida, I don't think is a really big deal, though. Of course, the crowd will be in a frenzy because Toronto is a hockey town, but Florida is obviously used to all of this. They're not going to be intimidated by it as they've been through all of this before. So Florida's the better team, and that's where I'm going to go with that one, with the Florida Panthers. MLB, I do have 4 plays, like I said, and hopefully my gauge of the MLB is back on track here. Let's try to get through these quickly. We do have LA at Miami. Miami has Alcantara pitching, and I think he's one of their better pitchers, at least if you look at what his history has been. It just seems like he has not bounced back from that injury, as he missed all of last year with an injury, and he just hasn't done well this year, and his numbers really, really stink against the Dodgers, which I talked about that last time. He's got an 8.31 ERA, 1.65 whip this year. And against the Dodgers, not good numbers. And he just got wrecked by the Dodgers about a week ago. So there isn't a whole lot to like about Alcantara here. Hold on. I hate it. Again, ESPN, they don't update this until the series starts. So you got to select the opponent to look at the stats here. 140 at bats, so a lot of experience from the Dodgers. 321 average and 935 OPS against him. But then on the Dodgers side, Ben Kasparius is getting like a spot start here. I guess because the Dodgers have so many starting pitchers injured here, they're going to be going with an opener approach. As Kasparius, I think he's been coming out of the bullpen for the Dodgers, so I don't think you're going to get many innings out of him. His numbers are decent this year, but he'll go while his stuff is good, and then he'll be out of there. But the good thing for the Dodgers, at least, is that their bullpen is pretty good. So them going with an opener approach, I don't even think is really going to... I think they'll still probably be able to win the game, but they are still a huge favorite, up from minus 180 to minus 190. Really, really telling if the Dodgers are that much of a favorite when they're going with an opener approach and they're still that much of a favorite. That's crazy. I'm not going to play the game. Cleveland at Washington. Washington's returning home from a road trip, and I like to fade teams returning home from a road trip typically, as they tend to get a little bit distracted. You're back to family life again. You have stuff to do back at home. Got to get stuff done. They're coming off a nice winning series at Cincinnati, so they might be feeling pretty good about themselves right now. So there are definitely reasons to fade Washington, and with how bad their bullpen is, that's like a constant reason to fade Washington. Cleveland, unfortunately, they won yesterday, even though Bibby actually left the game early, I think with some leg stiffness or something. Unfortunately for me, Bowden Francis didn't live up to his end there, even though that's 2 starts in a row where Francis has been pretty bad against teams he typically does well against. He had good numbers against Boston and Cleveland, and he didn't do well in either of them. But now Cleveland is going to Washington from Toronto, so they're traveling a bit. From Toronto to Washington. So they're having to go through customs, coming down to Washington, a bit of a weird travel spot. So there are some negatives for Cleveland here, as well as Washington is returning from Cincinnati. So both teams kind of some weird travel. The return home spot always a little bit worse. But then if you look at the starting pitching matchup, Luis Ortiz, not good numbers, 4.78 ERA, 1.41 whip. And against Washington, he's not been good. In 30 at-bats, they got a 300 average against him in 910 OPS. So Luis Ortiz hasn't done well against him. Jake Irvin, one of Washington's better starters with a 1.13 ERA, 4.01 whip. They do have a couple of good starters who just are kind of under the radar because the team is terrible, but a couple of their starters are not bad. Irvin is one of them. And against Cleveland, he's actually done well in his career. 23 at-bats, not a big sample size, but a 217 average allowed, a little bit of a higher 715 OPS, but still, I think Irvin does have the matchup edge there. But I don't like the situation for Washington at all, obviously. If you were going to play this game, I mean, maybe you just go with the starting pitching matchup and go to Washington first 5 innings. They do have the money coming into them, 91% of the cash, 80% of the tickets. Makes no sense. Why would the public ever be on Washington? I don't know. But probably I would look to take the bullpens out of the equation. I mean, I'm almost never going to play Washington with their bullpen like that. So maybe Washington first 5 makes sense. Next game up, I do have a play on the New York Yankees to bounce back here. I think this is a misleading pitching matchup and teams with misleading records, even though the Yankees are always public. I think the public might think this is a pretty competitive matchup and like getting the plus money. Kind of a big number on the surface. It looks like a big number on the Yankees. Looks like you might be getting a little bit of value on the Padres, but I don't agree with that. Let me see. Where are we at here? Got to find the... come on, man. There it is. So Yankees down from minus 150 to minus 137, but they do have 83% of the cash coming in on them and 55% of tickets on San Diego. So it actually looks like public on San Diego, professionals on New York, and I agree with that. I mean, San Diego is hot right now, so the public is not going to want to fade them. They're on the road. They just swept Pittsburgh. They won 5 games in a row. They're rolling right now, but they're still only slightly above 500 on the road, and the Yankees have a decent home record. Yankees are coming off a loss to Tampa, and they're not traveling. They're staying at home and coming off back-to-back series losses to Baltimore and Tampa. And the Yankees are certainly better than that. So I think the Yankees are going to be in a foul mood here. And San Diego used more of their bullpen yesterday. Nick Pivetta is on the mound. Really good numbers this year. 1.78 ERA, 0.82 whip. But the Yankees are definitely familiar with him because he was on the Red Sox. The Yankees have seen him, 46 at-bats. He's given up 4 home runs to them. Aaron Judge, 5 for 18 with 2 home runs and 5 walks. If you want to look for him, player props, hits plus runs plus RBIs. 13 strikeouts, 9 walks. So not really good numbers there either. 261 average allowed and not very high. 925 OPS. So Pivetta has not been good against the Yankees. And his home road splits, I mean, this year, good numbers both ways, but he's been worse on the road, and that's kind of it's been that way the last couple of seasons. He's been somewhat worse on the road than at home, and of course, it really makes sense being in San Diego, which is a pitcher-friendly park, whereas the Bronx, the Yankee Stadium, is certainly not pitcher-friendly at all. And on the other side, Carlos Rodon, getting too much crap, man, like I said, and I think it might be continuing, even though he's been on fire. Had 2 shutout performances and then a 2-run performance, striking out 9, 8, and 7 batters and going at least 6 innings in all 3. He's in good form right now. A .98 whip indicates his 3.43 ERA probably should actually be lower than it is. And against San Diego, even they have a pretty good offense, 82 at bats, they have not done well against him with a 207 average and a very low 586 OPS. So I like everything about this. I like the starting pitching matchup. Both teams have good bullpens, so I think it's a little bit of a wash. Yankees have the slightly better offense. And I like the starting pitching matchup in the situation. So we're going to go with the Yankees on the money line in that one. One of those types of games where the public actually isn't on the Yankees, and you could actually get a little bit of value on them and a little bit of a cheap price potentially. Cincinnati, Atlanta, I'm going over in this one. I think it's kind of simple. It's just a bad starting pitching matchup. Both teams use a lot of their bullpens yesterday as well. Brady Singer, I know his numbers are good. 1.08 whip, very good so far. 3.24 ERA. He's actually been really good at home, surprisingly, which is weird because it's a great American ballpark. It's a very hitter-friendly ballpark. But he's been way worse on the road this year so far. 4.09 ERA on the road compared to 2.82 at home. 289 opponent batting average on the road. 145 at home. Shocking to kind of see that with Cincinnati being that much of a hitter-friendly ballpark. But he's been worse on the road. He's on the road here. And up against, who are we playing? Who are they playing against? Up against Atlanta. Doesn't have good numbers, man. Against Atlanta, 60 at bats worth, 300 batting average, 6 home runs allowed. Murphy is 5 for 8 with 2 home runs off him, so player prop alert there. And Rosario, 5 for 14 with a home run, 300 batting average allowed him, 1,027 OPS. So Singer has not done well against the Braves. Smith-Shawver for the Braves, still a young guy trying to get his career going. Hasn't been good this year so far, though. He's been consistent, I guess, and that he just doesn't pitch that many innings, although he hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start. But I just don't think he's that great. His one home game was pretty bad. 3 runs allowed to a bad Miami lineup. 3 walks in that game in 4 2/3. Did have 6 strikeouts, but he was not effective. 7 hits allowed against a bad offense. Not good. 4.26 ERA on the season. 1.68 whip. And he has faced the opponent here before, the Reds, and the Reds have done well against him. 9 at bats. I know it's a very small sample size, so they got 2 home runs off him. De La Cruz, 2 for 2 with a home run. 333 average and 1,566 OPS, so he has not been getting it done either. So we're going to go over in that game, and I think the bats could do enough damage in that one. Both offenses are mediocre, so we'll go with that. And the complete opposite in the next game, we're going under. 8.5 in that Cincinnati game, under 8 in Chicago, Kansas City. I mean, to start off, obviously, you have 2 really bad offenses here, but you have 2 pretty good pitchers here, too, I think. So that's where we're going. I think neither bullpen was used that much. So we're going to go with so we're going with the under. Shane Smith flying totally under the radar because the White Sox are terrible, but he's maybe the only good player on the entire team with a 2.23 ERA, 1.08 whip. He's been pretty effective, although his walk number is too high, 12, but he's only allowed 23 hits and 32 and a third, 26 strikeouts, decent at least. He's been pretty good this season, man. He hasn't allowed more than 3 earned runs in any start. He's allowed 2 or fewer in all but 1. Gone at least 5 innings in all but 1. So he's been pretty effective keeping his team in the game, getting them deep into games. And I won't even switch to it, but also he has never been seen before by the opposing lineup. Or actually, I believe that's the case. I can look, but I don't think so because he's a rookie this year. I don't think they've faced Kansas City yet. Where's he at? Let me see. Yeah, so Kansas City. So, again, with young pitchers like this who are actually pretty good, opposing lineups do struggle the first couple of times they have to face this pitcher because they don't know what to expect from him. So I think that gives Smith a little bit of an added edge, and he's kind of been rolling with that edge this season as well, but I think he hasn't. And then on the other end, Cole Reagans, even though he has a 4.4 ERA, and I know he's actually a little bit worse at home in his career, which worries me a little bit, and his recent performance, not great. Tough spot, though, to be in on the road against Detroit, who's really good at home. Didn't do well in that game. 5 earned runs, 4 earned runs against Colorado back at home, and Colorado does suck, but Cole Reagans is an ace, man. I think he's going to bounce back. He's got a 1.17 whip, which indicates his ERA should not be as high as it is. A really high, 46 strikeouts in 30 2/3, 9 walks. Really good strikeout-walk ratio. He doesn't walk a lot of guys, strikes out a lot, doesn't allow a lot of hits with 27 hits And we're talking about the White Sox here. I mean, they're kind of the cure for what ails you, as their offense isn't good. They actually even haven't seen Reagans that much, which is weird because he's been in their division for a while. White Sox hitters have only faced him 10 at-bats worth 200 batting average and 585 OPS. Reagans has been good against them. They're a weak hitting lineup, so under is the play there. Houston, Milwaukee is a tough one to gauge, man, with two young pitchers here with Blanco and Myers. And Myers has let me down a couple of times recently, as he was much better last year than he's been this year. But right now, he's in bad form, so I worry about him. I don't think either pitcher has even faced the opposing lineup before, so each pitcher, Myers actually has faced two Houston hitters before, and they're 0 for 9 off him with 3 strikeouts. Blanco, actually, let me just check real quick. Let me see. I'm not going to play this game, but I just think this is too much of a wild card. Haas has faced him before and is 0 for 1 off Blanco. So it looks like the pitchers should have a little bit of an edge in that game, and maybe they'd be expected to bounce back a little bit because they've both kind of been underperforming so far this year. No pun intended. Totals dropped from 8.5 juice to the under to 8. I might agree with the under as a slight lean in this one. 83% of tickets on the over, 99% of the cash on the over. Not likely to be a correct number there, but maybe that's the way I look there. San Francisco, Chicago, you got Landon Roop and Matthew Boyd. Raup has been pretty bad recently, so I don't know if I trust him. 5.10 ERA this year, 1.63 whip. He's been a little bit off this year, although the Cubs have actually never faced him before, so with his nasty breaking stuff, the Cubs might struggle to hit him early on. And then Matthew Boyd, on the other hand, really bad whip, 1.44. So his 2.7 ERA is going to be going upward, man. I mean, you cannot put almost 1.5 guys on base and continue to be effective. So I think Boyd, probably we're going to see a lot of regression out of him. His ERA is misleading. But up against, who are we talking about here? I just talked to, I'm like, wait, which team? I always forget what team I even just talked about. Against the Giants in 18 at-bats, Boyd has done well against them, but only 3 other hitters have ever seen him before. 167 average, 417 OPS. So because of the unfamiliarity of the pitchers, and both pitchers do at least have the ability to pitch well, the under might make sense, but I think that's just like Houston, Milwaukee. I think San Francisco, Chicago, there are way too many unknowns here as far as it's really difficult to gauge any of those starters. So I'm just going to stay away from all of that. And then my final play, I am going to take a shot on Pittsburgh, even though I don't like their starter at all, at plus 128. St. Louis, they're in a bad spot, man. I mean, they played 2 games yesterday. They swept the doubleheader against the Mets. 1-run game in each. They used a lot of their bullpen in the first game, so they're coming off playing 2 games yesterday. So even though Pittsburgh used a little bit of their bullpen, St. Louis having to play 2 games yesterday and beating a really good Mets team, I think they're going to be feeling very high about this. I think it's a letdown spot for St. Louis. Pittsburgh, on the other hand, I think they're going to be angry. They just got swept. They just got shut out by San Diego. They're going to want to do something here. They've been playing bad baseball, but I think getting them in an underdog price here in a bad situation for St. Louis with a not very good starting pitcher for St. Louis, I think it's a game where it's value on Pittsburgh just for those reasons. Even though I don't like Pittsburgh's offense or their bullpen that much, it's not like St. Louis is that much better in either of those departments. Lodzinski is pitching for Pittsburgh, and I know his numbers are terrible. 6.5 ERA, 6.58, 1.81 whip. But specifically against St. Louis, you might get a little bit of a better outing against them. They're 5 for 37 off him lifetime with no extra base hits, 16 strikeouts and 2 walks. So shockingly, he's dominated St. Louis. A 135 average, 315 OPS against. So there might be a little bit of a hidden, some hidden value there on Lodzinski, who sucks against everybody, but isn't bad against St. Louis. And meanwhile, Mikolas for St. Louis, also bad numbers this year, 4.66 ERA, 1.34 whip. So neither starting pitcher has been effective this year, obviously. But against Pittsburgh, his numbers are awful. 142 at bats worth. They got not awful, but not good. 296 batting average allowed and 752 OPS. So he's given it up, even though the 24-3 strikeout walk ratio is good. But these hitters are very familiar with him. They've been able to hit him. So I'm going to take the shot going against the team that played the doubleheader yesterday and go with the Pirates. The Mets also played a doubleheader yesterday, and they got Griffin Canning on the mound. You know I don't like Griffin Canning. I don't think he's as good as he's been this year that he's looked. 2.61 ERA is ridiculous, given that he has a 1.39 whip, which is pretty awful. I expect he's going to regress here. Canning up against Arizona has been pretty good, though. In 40 at-bats, 175 average allowed, 489 OPS. So Canning actually has a good matchup against Arizona. And Arizona's pitching Ryan Nelson, who really has not been good for them since he's joined the team. Not doing well this year either with a 5.82 ERA, although his 1.18 whip indicates he's doing a little bit better than that. But he's come out of the bullpen, man. And now that he's starting again, and the Mets just saw him, I think, coming out of the bullpen, I don't trust him, man. And the Mets have recent familiarity with him because they just saw him in his last outing. And even given that 4 innings where he didn't give up anything to the Mets there, didn't give up any runs, the Mets still shell him in 75 at-bats, 9 home runs, 4 triples, 3 doubles, ridiculous. 7 walks, 13 strikeouts, 320 average against, 1,205 OPS. So Nelson has been hammered by these Mets hitters. So there's no way that I could fade the Mets here with Ryan Nelson here being so bad historically against the Mets. I'm staying off of this game completely. I mean, I can see reasons to play both teams. It looks like Arizona's flipped from a +1 underdog to a -105 favorite. I'm not going to come in on this. And if you think Griffin Canning, even though he does well against Arizona, if you think his numbers are misleading and his whip, indicates that he is worse than he actually looks based on his ERA, you could look towards an over in this game. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if Canning didn't have a good start in that game, so the over might make sense. Mets bullpen has actually started to struggle a little bit. Arizona's isn't very good, so an over, that very high total of 9.5 might make sense. And then Seattle at the A's. The A's are returning home from a road trip, so not a good spot for the A's, especially going coast to coast, returning from Miami. Bad spot, but Bryce Miller does have good numbers against the A's. So I hesitate a little bit, although we know Bryce Miller has been worse in road games. He's way better at home. Against the A's, he is really good, though. In 52 at-bats, 192 average, 577 OPS allowed. 1.43 whip this year is pretty disturbing, though. 3.52 ERAs, exactly what you'd expect from him, but a 1.43 whip is a little bit worrisome. And in this A's stadium, which is a very hitter-friendly park, I would worry a little bit about Bryce Miller, so I can't quite play it. Again, he's much, much better at home in that pitcher-friendly park there. Severino is pitching for the A's, and he's a decent pitcher. He's been okay this year, 1.17 whip, more than okay, 3.3 ERA. None of that is bad. Against Seattle, he does pretty well. I mean, decently. 45 at-bats, too many walks, 7 walks to 17 strikeouts and 3 home runs allowed, but a 222 average is really nice. 749 OPS is a little bit on the high side. And that's pretty much all I have to say there. Again, plays today, Florida Panthers on the money line. That was in hockey. In baseball, we got Yankees money line, Reds, Braves over the 8.5, White Sox, Royals under 8, Pittsburgh Pirates +128 on the money line, and that's going to do it, man. Tower Gang Toad on Twitter, patreon.com/Tower Gang to support the most hilarious podcast out there and get Bohemian Grove tickets before they're gone and come see us live in late June. And that's going to do it, man. Have a good one. Peace.